Hey everybody, welcome to I'm Not Crying, You're Crying, the show about anything and everything because it's our show. I'm here with Juan.
Hey.
And Jay.
Hey guys.
And I'm Sean, and this is our theme music. Hey Juan, seeing that it's the season finale and all, do you have any lyrics you want to add to this?
Wait, because is this really a season finale?
Yes, this is the season finale for those of us who are keeping up with the regular...
That's right, you used your big word last episode, huh? What was that word, Sean?
God damn, dude. We say it every...
Every 9th episode, we say the same word, but it's the penultimate episode.
We don't. You do.
Okay. So you don't have any lyrics for that song of yours, Juan?
No, but I'm sure you do. Go ahead.
I do. You ready? It goes like this.
It's Dennis, not Juan. Fuck you, Juan.
Yeah, those are way better lyrics. Also, way better lyrics.
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm part of the team.
You are part of the team. And now this is our theme music. Hey everybody, welcome back to I'm Not Crying, You're Crying, Season 4, Episode 10. The season finale of this season. Juan, are you happy to be here?
Yeah, I am.
Really?
Yeah. Listen, I think we've already established it that everybody has a role to play, and my role is to get fucked over by you guys.
No. That's fucking horseshit, dude. You don't even know your role. That's why you're so out of place a lot of times.
Yeah, that's also true. And this is why you should shut your mouth and then know your role. That's what The Rock taught me.
No, the problem isn't when he shuts his mouth. The problem is he's never prepared, so he has nothing to say. And then he just ends up saying fuck you to both of us because he's not well versed in what the topic is.
That's very, very true. And on top of that, you bring the conversation to a grinding halt because you don't listen to what we're saying. You're a right butcher. You know, Julio, friend of the show, Julio, he actually made a pretty good picture, which I'll post on the social media for this episode, to talk about Juan the Butcher and all the things you do on the show. See, it's happening right now. It's happening right now.
This isn't the season finale. This is an intervention.
This is
surprise.
Hey, now Juan, now that we have you here, we're gonna start this intervention. Do you know that you never listen to anything anyone says on the show? Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Juan. Thanks. Jay, how about you, man? This is the season 4 season finale. Do you think we'd make it this far?
Look, I'm surprised we made it to that first 10. I mean,
yeah, no, that's very, very true. That very first episode, that was a test. It was only a test to see how far the syndication would go. But it's still up there. It literally has the most listens, and I apologize for anyone who listened to that and then didn't listen anymore. Because we're better now. We're better.
I wish we could put out a new test episode.
Yeah. One without Juan. How does that make you feel, Juan?
Very good. Thank you for asking.
Oh, okay, great.
Thank you, ma'am. May I have another?
On this season finale episode, we're going to do something we don't often do. We're going to try a little consistency. Now, what I mean is that if you are paying attention, keeping up with our with the show, you know that we most recently talked about Dave Chappelle and his recent comedy special on Netflix is getting a lot of attention, The Closer, because of how controversial. Jesus Christ, I'm Juan. I got Juan. How controversial it is towards the trans and LGBTQ community.
Well, somebody has to become Juan.
No, I believe in your words.
Indubitably.
Indubitably. In Juan's words, when you hang around with him, you are destined to become him. Those are his words. So, so Dave Chappelle most recently on his Instagram, where I'm starting to learn that he posts a lot of his rebuttals. And I think I didn't realize that he was so in tune with social media, or he just kind of realizes that's a very good avenue to get his information across, because he posted a rebuttal to the LGBT community while Juan, and I don't know if you remember this in the last show, you mentioned that you didn't think that he was gonna do any more shows.
I honestly thought he wasn't.
Yeah, well, you were wrong, because I think he, as Jay stated, he immediately went out and did another show. I won't say immediately. He went out and did some more shows, and he put a segment of that show up talking about kind of the whole piece about being canceled and his relationship with the LGBT community and kind of what his terms were, because I don't know, Jay, if you saw, but apparently there was an article that said that Dave refused to meet with the LGBT. Oh my God. With the alphabet gangs.
You're going to get canceled by referring to them as the alphabet gang. I have no affiliation with you. You guys are working so hard to get me kicked out of the fucking show, and you're going to do it to yourself, man.
Look, no one knows who we are, so how are they going to cancel us?
Yeah.
So
Listen,
I don't know. Julio Herbert may get pissed off at us and band together with Peter, our one listener that actually likes us.
Which shout out to Peter. Yes, we mean Peter, who's listening to this show, probably in his car with the kids.
I apologize, kids, for all the cursing, but it's part of life.
But anyway, yeah. So the LGBT, Jesus Christ, the alphabet gang,
LGBTQ community.
Thank you.
LGBTQ.
Thanks,
folks. Please notice that I actually knew it and respected that. So please do not cancel me. You will be wanting to cancel Sean Cantley.
Cancel you from what, Juan? I mean,
cancel you from canceling the show. Look. So anyway, he posted a rebuttal on Instagram. Jay, did you see the I think it's like 5 or 6 minutes or 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah. I saw the video where he said that they said he refused to meet with the LGBT community or the transgender community or the Netflix employees or whatever, which he said is wrong, and he'll gladly meet with them. But he has like stipulations if because like he said he said in that video where like people feel threatened by him, but he's the only one that can't go into the building safely. Like he feels like he's the only one that can't go into the building safely.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has these stipulations. He won't meet with them unless they watch his special from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what the other ones.
The other one, well, the first one was that he will not be summoned. That that they'll meet at a place of his choosing and at a time that he chooses. And then the second one was that Jay, they have to watch his special from beginning to end. And then the third one was, do you remember what the third one was? Because I don't remember the comic's name.
He said that they have to admit that Hannah Gadsby was not funny.
Now I don't know who Hannah Gadsby is. Do you know? Have you heard any of her stuff?
Yes.
Is she funny?
She's a particular taste of comedy.
What kind of stuff does she do?
I really can't. I can't explain it. It's you'd have to watch it. It's on Netflix. She has 2 specials on Netflix. One is called Nanette, and the other one is called Douglas. And I watched Nanette. It's a hard special to watch. It really is. I mean,
is it hard to watch because of the content, like the subject matter that she covers, or because just her delivery and her comedy is not, like mainstream or your cup of tea?
Well, I mean, it starts off like a standard special. She does a couple jokes, and then it just derails, and it gets very serious. And like you're watching it, and you're like, where is this a bit? Like I don't understand what's going on. And she reveals a lot of personal stuff. I don't think it's designed for laughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, is
it her trying to tell stories that get across like her struggle, but it just doesn't translate into comedy? Like again, we mentioned in the last episode where David's really good about telling very serious stories, but using comedy to relieve the tension. Does that not happen in her special?
Yeah, this is probably the opposite of that. There's stories in there, but it doesn't end with like humor.
I see.
Yeah, it's hard to watch, really.
This comedian, is she like a role model or someone that relates with the LGBTQ community, or why does
she's a lesbian. She's a lesbian comedian. A lot of the stuff that she talks about is like her struggles being a female lesbian comedian. I mean, you honestly have to watch it because I wouldn't be able to explain it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dave brings her up as one of the stipulations to admit, hey, she's not funny.
Well, she was one of the front runners that was like, trying to cancel Dave Chappelle and saying that, like his comedy or the special was like hurtful and it it shines a negative light on the LGBTQ community. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know the particular article that she says, but I know she was against his special. She was against.
Did she watch the same special that we did, or?
Well, I mean, obviously, but but again, from those two ladies in the very front row, you can tell everyone's having a different time in the closer special. But yes, well, one of his stipulations was to watch it from beginning to end. And the other thing, he mentioned that was very interesting that I thought is that he actually had a film a documentary that he was
he's going to put out.
Yeah, that he's going to put out based on the first couple shows that he did. Now, Juan, I don't think you watched 846. Did you watch that?
No. The only Dave Chappelle episode or special that I've seen is The Closer, and it was in preparation for the episode.
Now, again, if you remember, Juan, I mentioned that 846 is one of the specials that he did during, like, in the height of the pandemic, where people were just looking for stuff to do. And he mentions in this little Instagram short, in all in 10 minutes, that, he had a neighbor who he got together with and said, hey, can I use your cornfield to throw a show? Now, during this, 843 is a very small section of that he released that really kind of touched on the murder of George Floyd. And so he used this opportunity because he put on multiple shows, and he also put out an untitled documentary, which, as Jay mentioned, he's going to release to the public because of the controversy that has arisen from his latest Netflix special. The film festivals don't want to air it anymore. They don't want to air it. They don't want to have anything to do with it.
They pulled it from the festivals.
Yeah.
And there's nobody that wants to release it.
Yes. So Dave said he's going to release it himself. It'll be available, I think, to purchase, right, Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be able to buy a copy so that you can see what it is that these corporations don't want you to see.
So
now
is the question, can people truly get canceled nowadays? Because obviously they're trying to cancel Dave Chappelle, but he's finding a way to get his opinion out there. And it's not through the popular media. I'm going to release it through my own way. I'm going to sell it to you guys via iTunes or whatever.
It's funny. I read an article from someone interviewed Bobcat Goldthwait.
Hey, I know him, Mr. Floppy from Happily Ever After.
Yeah. And but he said that cancel culture doesn't exist. He compares it to like in the 80s when a shock jock personality would say something offensive, and then they would go, "Hey, you're not supposed to do that," or and then his fans would rally again behind him, and then he'd eventually like come out on top and make millions of dollars anyway.
Yeah. Well, and so do you agree, Jay? Do you think that cancel culture doesn't exist, and this is just another way for artists and celebrities to make money?
I mean, people get silenced, but they're not completely gone.
Yeah. I think, I agree with that. I think there was, I'll use R. Kelly as an example because they had the hashtag in the movement, Mute R. Kelly, because every time you play an R. Kelly stream, right, he gets a little bit of money from that. So I can see that, silencing said artists, but
what's funny about that? Once that guilty verdict came about, sales for I Believe You Can Fly and the remix went up.
Remix to Ignition.
Yeah. People were downloading it.
I can believe that because I think there's a whole generation of people who have never heard his music and then can't understand why people are so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And it goes back to something that Juan mentioned not that long ago, I think it was you, Jay. It was like, can you separate the art from the artist? And it sounds like there's a lot of people who could. It was just like downloading, Chocolate Factory because they were like, well, I need to understand what's going on,
it's just like I said before, you just can't listen to it publicly, it's just one of those things where you'll listen to it in your car, and feel a little bad because it's playing in your car, but you still like the song.
Yeah, and so Dave Chappelle mentions that it's about corporate interest and trying to censor what they can and cannot say. Now, again, Jay, you mentioned that you can silence an artist, but Bobcat Goldthwait,
Yeah.
He says that it doesn't exist, that it's a ploy for money. So
But
do you think
he's not the only one that doesn't think it doesn't exist? There's a lot of people out there that really feel that cancel culture doesn't exist.
Well, my question is, do you think that cancel culture is created by corporations to create, like, there's obviously people who make money off Dave Chappelle making money. Even if he releases this Untitled documentary, right, Dave Chappelle will make money because it's his belongings. But do you think that he has some sub-affiliation, for all the stuff he talks about, corporate control and artists being confined to these contracts? Do you think that he is making money for some conglomerate in the background?
The sad answer to that question is probably yes. It can be advertising and marketing is a dirty, disgusting business. People would do whatever it takes to get people to buy or listen or watch whatever.
I agree with you, Jay. I agree, because I think, there is some, and it could very well be Dave Chappelle's own company, like his own, media company, making tons of money off of the idea that this is the new bootleg thing, that I need to find a way to understand what the controversy is. I need to find a copy of it and have it, and it's not available on the internet. You know what I mean?
Look at how sales of Twisted Tea rose after some guy smashed it into some racist dude's face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing, is that there's lots of FOMO about it, right? So if I don't buy this Dave Chappelle documentary, I'm not going to know what's going on, and I won't be able to have an opinion about it, and therefore I can't be upset, or I can't incite mobs over it. So at the end of his special, he asked the audience, now, am I canceled or not? And the audience yells no. So the question is, do you think that Dave Chappelle has found a way through media to beat cancel culture, the idea of cancel culture?
I think he's putting up a good fight. I don't think he's beat it. I think he's getting a lot of bad rep. I think he's just gotten, not lucky, but he's playing it smart. And not once has he truly really apologized, like other artists that have gotten canceled or they've attempted to get canceled. Kevin Hart, how many times did he apologize for his tweets? And he actually got pulled from the Oscars.
Well, I don't think Kevin Hart's a good example, because because Kevin Hart, he apologized because of the nature of his tweets, and I don't remember the content of it, but he apologized about the nature of the tweets. And the difference here is that Dave Chappelle went up on stage doing a comedy special, telling people, I'm going to be performing jokes that are going to probably make you upset, but they are jokes. They are all at the core, they're jokes. So the context has already been set, right? And you look at Kevin Hart, and again, it's the internet, and anything can be taken out of context, but that context didn't exist for Kevin Hart. So there's opportunity there for his information to be misconstrued. Now, with that said, do you think someone like Kevin Hart could have withstood, the same scrutiny that Dave Chappelle's under?
No, because that is not his persona. His persona is just Kevin Hart. He's goofy Kevin Hart. He doesn't rock the boat. He doesn't stir up shit. He tells stories about his life, and it's wholesome. There are curse words in his act, but if you take it out, he's a very wholesome comedian. He just talks about how he lives his life and his family. Whereas like Dave Chappelle, he does a lot of social commentary. Like Chris Rock. Chris Rock does a lot of social commentary where that's who they are. They're going to talk about stuff that's not easy to listen to. It's not easy to digest, and you have to really think about society and how people view it. But
yeah, that's true. And I also agree with you, is that I think that Kevin Hart, I think he could have said it. And so my wife sent me a video not that long ago with Kevin Hart interviewing Don Cheadle. And apparently Kevin Hart and Don Cheadle are really, really good friends. But in the middle of this very serious interview where they're talking about Don Cheadle's career, Don Cheadle mentions that he's like, 60, almost 70 years old. And Kevin Hart goes, damn. And it stops the interview dead in its tracks, right? And it looks like he had offended Don Cheadle, right? And so and Don Cheadle, he might have been playing it up for the camera, who knows? But this clip, my wife who doesn't really keep in touch with like popular culture, social media, this clip made it to her, right? She goes, "You look how mad Don Cheadle got," and I go, "I don't think he's mad. It sounds like he was just goofing around with his friend who made fun of his age." So to your point, Jay, if something like that, something as I would say as unimportant as him making fun of Don Cheadle's age, makes it to the front of like, oh my God, he hates Don Cheadle or Don Cheadle hates him, I don't think he could have survived a bout with the transgender community.
Oh yeah, they would have eaten him alive.
Yeah, but I think Jay hit the nail on the head. Kevin Hart is a completely different individual. I think he cares more about his image of the movie star, wholesome comedian. And Dave Chappelle is the guy that gave us Half Baked. I mean, I think he's set up to be that one person that's going to try to fight cancel culture and may beat it. Whereas Kevin Hart didn't want to tangle or risk damaging his career. And because of it, he lost something that he was looking forward to.
Well, so my question is, at what point do you think Dave Chappelle can declare victory? Is it if people buy his documentary? Is it if he gets another Netflix special?
I don't think there's a way to really declare victory. I think Jay, like Jay said last week and today, he's going to make another special regardless of what's going on. I think that unless there's a true leader of the LGBTQ community that comes out and says, hey, we forgive Dave Chappelle, he's not canceled anymore, move on, there's no victory to declare, because even if a small portion, half the portion, or the entire LGBTQ community says, hey, it's okay to like Dave Chappelle, there's still going to be a minority group that's going to hate what he says and is going to try to cancel him.
Well, I mean, go ahead, Jay, sorry.
I think Dave Chappelle's legacy is going to be defined by the next comedian who decides to cross those lines. Like they put out a special as controversial as Dave Chappelle, and it's successful. That's what will define Dave Chappelle's legacy as the guy that broke down these barriers where you can say, you can say whatever you want to say as far as comedy, and it won't be like an issue where, oh, we need to cancel this person,
Yeah, I agree. I think the next, and I don't know if it'll be in the current stock of comedians. It may be like the next up and coming guy who just says, "Oh my God, you hear what this guy said?" And it'll be like, you know who else said something like that? Dave Chappelle. And it'll start this whole whirlwind up again. Because he even said, because he says in his special, he's like, all of the people who are a part of that community have shown support for him. And so I don't think there's ever gonna come to a point where there's a unanimous vote of like, you know what, community, let's get together and just forgive Dave Chappelle. I don't think that's ever going to exist. I mean, if this is a political game, even among same parties, there's never going to be an agreement. Are you guys planning? Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
I said it last time. The other big issue that we have is there's a portion of the community that is louder than everybody else and makes it seem, or it's perceived that they are speaking for the entire community. And I was listening to another podcast, and those individuals shared the same thought process that I did. It's the louder group side of the group that is making it seem like the entire group wants to be this way, is against this, when it's not necessarily true. Not everybody feels that way. Like I said, with my example was, I don't care if I'm called Latino, Latina. I just don't understand who decided to call me Latinx. And I think it goes with the LGBTQ community. There's a lot of people that actually saw the special from beginning to end and see Dave Chappelle's point.
This is always going to be a problem. This is always going to be a problem forever. You know, there's a story in the Bible where God divided the people by languages.
Preach.
Oh yeah. I know this.
Yeah. So everyone spoke the same language at one point, and then God divided all the people into different languages, and they couldn't communicate with each other anymore. And that is how the world is, you know?
Yeah.
People are trying to say the same thing, but they can't understand what another person is saying because, you know, the language is different, the culture is different, the thinking's different. But it could be the same message.
Hey, we've been focusing a lot on comedians, but what other genre has to face cancel culture as much as comedians?
Musicians.
Oh, you know what? That's true. I heard the Rolling Stones stop performing certain songs because they're not politically correct anymore. Like they're not performing Brown Sugar anymore.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that a fact? Did you just make that up?
No, it's a fact. They're not performing Brown Sugar. I've just never heard the song Brown Sugar, and I'm not that huge of a Stones fan. But I was listening at another podcast because at least the last 2 episodes has revolved around cancel culture. And
so, I mean, not to take us too far off track, but you listened to another podcast?
I listened to several podcasts.
How dare you?
How dare you? I mean, do you actually focus and engage and pay attention and have meaningful things to say? Okay.
Yes, I talk back to the fucking podcast, Sean. That's... Fuck.
I wouldn't doubt it, actually. It's more,
and you know what? They appreciate me a little bit more, asshole.
He's more engaged in somebody else's podcast than on ours.
Makes sense. Seems consistent with your nature. Yeah, I think Jay's right. I think musicians do have to censor themselves and writers like J.K. Rowling's and Mark Twain. They wanted to take Tom Sawyer out of schools and Huckleberry Finn because the N-word is prevalent in those books.
Well, J.K. Rowling wasn't based off her writing. It was based off her fucking tweets, what she said about the transgender community.
Yeah, but that goes hand in hand with cancel culture. The person says something that people deem inappropriate, and then they want to just take and cancel their books and don't want to deal with the artist anymore.
So why not cancel Stephen King? Have you read it? That's filled with homophobia and racism.
Yeah, but it's not pointed out in the media. You know, it's just something true. that they're just the select few artists and select musicians and artists that they're focusing on. Like nobody gives a shit about Stephen King right now. Like if they cancel Stephen King, who cares? It's not going to make a dent in pop culture or society.
But that's like it is a perfect example. But it was justified because it was written in the spirit of that era. So why cancel Huckleberry when it's written in that era?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, Juan, I think to your point, I mean, well, first of all, I'm going to point out that Jay answered the question for you and you said, no, that doesn't count, which is who else has to face cancel culture? And authors do. But
also, I'm sorry, Sean, but also like no little kid is reading Stephen King's It. You know, like that's not like a book you read in elementary school, but Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn are books that you'd read in elementary school, and it has the N-word in it.
And that's true. And on the other list, the other book that's on that is on the list of banned books is To Kill a Mockingbird, which is something I read when I was in high school.
Why?
Because it has the N-word in it.
Holy shit, man.
And you know, it's funny because I just talked about this like a couple weeks ago. Is that when I was growing up, when I was in school, every year during Black History Month, I want to say every year I was in LAUSD, we watched the movie Roots with LeVar Burton. For Black History Month, we watched the movie Roots. Now I don't think they do that in school anymore, but
no.
But I mean, like,
because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, so it is. But I mean, you know, to Jay's point, which is like movie studios face cancel culture, which is why they make all these TV shows so safe, you know, and TV doesn't tackle as hard hitting of issues as they used to face. And everything is so watered down because they are afraid of being canceled. They don't want to offend anyone, so they err on the side of safety. You know, to Jay's point, kids aren't reading it. You know who's reading it? Adults who can make up their own mind.
Kids aren't listening to Dave Chappelle or watching Dave Chappelle.
No, I think I don't think it's about kids listening to Dave Chappelle. I think it's about his ideals that are projected on such a wide stage.
Okay.
You know, Netflix has, I want to say, one of the largest subscription bases. Yeah, and you know, to be on a platform like that with such notoriety, to come on the heels of like something like the Squid Game, which apparently is a world phenomenon. you know what I mean? It's like the stage that he has. The stage that he has is very large and wide reaching. So yes, maybe kids aren't listening to Dave Chappelle, but they are within proximity. There's 6 degrees of separation, you know, from it.
Oh, young adults are probably listening to Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
What's your thought process on the Netflix CEO standing by the Dave Chappelle decision and then backtracking after he got all the backlash? Yeah, he had sent out a memo saying in kinder words, "Fuck you. I stand by my decision. Dave Chappelle's show was a good decision." And then after the walkout and after the whole backlash he got from the LGBTQ community, he kind of backtracked and sent out another letter saying, "Hey, while this still kind of stands, but I want to point out that we appreciate and respect our diversity, and we should have been a little bit more sensitive."
Well, the real question is, Juan, is the special still on Netflix? Yes. Can I go on, right? Okay, well, then it doesn't matter. it doesn't matter. It's another corporate memo to satisfy some
cancel culture.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, sorry.
Sorry. You can take it down? No. I mean, if I'm the guy from Netflix, I'm not taking that down. Why? Because it is bringing me subscribers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and people are streaming it. People are watching it.
I wonder how many new subscribers they got just because they wanted to check out the closure.
Who knows? I know that there's some impact there, because obviously, I mean, you can't do that without it's causing waves, and therefore people are going to try and figure out exactly what the hell's going on.
I mean, it's part of the pop culture zeitgeist now, you know, like when people look back at 2021, this is going to be a part of it. Like, oh my God, this was a thing. People were really upset about this special that came out, and then they're going to go back and watch it, and it's going to be a part of like comedy history, you know, like comedians that are coming up and they're trying to discover new comedians and edgy comics. They're going to go back to Dave Chappelle's Netflix specials. They're going to go back even further to like George Carlin and like Lenny Bruce, if they want to go back in history. This is part of like the lexicon of like edgy comedians. Like this is the path that if you want to be a social commentator, like these are the people that you need to watch.
Yeah. There's some like, you know, dorm room home comedian who is using Dave Chappelle's The Closer as like his case study. I believe Dave Chappelle called it going to class, right? Is that what it, or taking class?
Going to class. Like, you know, when Dane Cook was very popular and I was doing a lot of mics and doing a lot of LA comedy, I would see a lot of like Dane Cook copycats. You know, they would just copy his style and they would just like copy his mannerisms. And, you know, that's how they thought you're supposed to do comedy. Just copy a comedian.
Well,
I wouldn't be surprised if you see a bunch of like Dave Chappelle copycats in the next like couple years. They're just trying to be edgy for the sake of being edgy without a real message.
Yeah. I can see that, and it makes sense. It makes sense because like you said, it's part of the pop culture zeitgeist, and people are going to use it to gain as many, especially in this world of like social media and getting followers and having people, you know, like your stuff and share it. I can see a bunch of people just kind of out there for shock value, if anything else, trying to, you know, gain subscribers, get followers, or have them make a TikTok or something crazy like that.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know Gunther from Friends, he died?
I don't care.
Well, why not, man? Do you not like Friends?
I mean, I've watched a couple episodes of Friends, but I'm not like the person that watches every episode of Friends. Yeah, some episodes are funny and some are just like, I don't get it.
Well, you know, it's funny because like Friends is not my demographic at all. Like I was never 30 white and living in New York. So I find some of the episodes of Friends very, very funny. Some of the issues I can't relate to, but the situations they get themselves into are very funny. But I bring this up because it apparently taking the internet by storm. The characters on the show care less about this character than the people on the internet. Like, people on the internet have made this character into a huge guy. His Gunther, he's one of the people who works at the coffee house. That like one of the main characters. He's interested in one of the main characters.
I know who the character is. I'm sad that he died. I mean, he looked fairly young for a person that.
So James Michael Taylor dies at 59, and he's a pretty young guy, and he died from cancer, and I don't remember the type of cancer he had, but it was an ongoing battle that he suffered with it. I don't know if he did anything else aside from Friends that had given him any notoriety, but when they talked about, oh, this guy from Friends died, that's the only place I know him from. I don't think I've seen him in anything else or paid attention to him. But apparently in Friends, he was in it from 1994 to 2004, and I think that might have been when Friends went off the air. He was in an episode of Scrubs and Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
So nothing after Friends.
No, after Friends, he did Friends Trivia, the one with all the trivia. He did that.
So nothing after Friends.
He did a couple shows. Nothing that took off that was really, really large that I can see here. But it reminds me of like other TV show characters that that people love more than the protagonist. Like when the first one that comes to mind is like Steve Urkel. I don't think Family Matters was even about the Winslows. It was more about like what kind of hijinks Steve was going to get into.
He was supposed to be only a single episode character, but they loved him so much and he tested so well that they just made him into a reoccurring character.
No, they retooled the show to make him the star.
Yeah, they did. I feel like
Did I do that?
Shit, man. He was one of the first like annoying neighbors I'd ever seen, because like aside from Urkel, I mean, there was Charles in Charge, and there was his buddy, his next door neighbor, Buddy.
Yeah,
I think
Buddy Limbeck.
Who was his annoying neighbor, and then there was oh my God, Six from
Blossom.
From Blossom, and oh my God, Kimmy Gibbler from
Kimmy Gibbler.
Yeah, so the list goes on.
But Urkel took it to another level.
Yeah,
it's true, and I think they were just trying to remake those. They're trying to recreate the Urkel moment and have to retool an entire show around it.
Dude, Urkel was dope, man. Like that character carried the show for a good 8 or 9 seasons.
Yeah,
even when he did his Stefan episodes, those were great.
It's funny you say that, because I was just going to say that. Yeah, he carried that show, and then when Urkel wasn't doing it, they said, you know what? Let's just bring the regular actor on and see what happens. And then he just have all these women jizz their pants over him.
The reason they started having Stefan episodes is Jaleel White was getting tired of wearing the pants up high and the suspenders and playing that role. So every so often they would toss a bone at him and tell him you can play Stefan, which was the suave version of Steve Urkel,
which carried it for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I still remember the episode where he like transforms into Stefan and proposes to Laura Winslow, and Urkel's girlfriend like wakes up in a cold sweat, going, "Something's wrong with my Pookie."
Oh man, speaking of. If you can remember her name, Juan, I will eat a spicy chip.
I can't remember her name, but I know she died as well.
The actress's name?
No, just the name of the character in the show.
Fuck.
Her name was Myra. Her name was Myra Mughouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was very high strung. She reminds me of one of the characters from The Big Bang Theory.
The actress was Michelle Thomas.
Michelle Thomas?
Yeah.
Who's that? Who's that in The Big Bang Theory?
No, she played Myra Monkhouse.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I did know that she had also passed on. She'd also passed on.
Yeah, hers was a brain tumor, I think.
It's very sad. Yeah, I mean, I was more devastated about her than Gunther.
Gunther was just the odd character that you like seeing on Friends. And as another human being, you're sad that he's gone, but I'm not devastated like I was with like Robin Williams or Michael Jackson.
Well, I mean, character wise, I'm not as sad, but I mean, as far as a person dying, it sucks. Yeah. But I mean, I really liked Myra Monkhouse more than Gunther.
Yeah, and she was really young, like a lot younger.
Yeah, she was like in her 30s when she passed.
Yeah, yeah, she was really young. It's been a crazy week. It's been a crazy week because that's the Dave Chappelle. The Dave Chappelle thing, the Gunther thing, which, I mean, take it or leave it, a lot of people were shocked. And then Juan, something that Juan had brought up is that there's this thing going on in America called that the news is calling the Great Resignation. Have you guys heard of this?
Yeah, or what I like to call everybody, let's have a midlife crisis at the same time.
I feel like during the pandemic, everyone had this like Walter White moment, like this Breaking Bad where
it's time to cook.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want to be a science teacher anymore. I want to make math and make millions of dollars.
Will you be my Jesse Pinkman?
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because I think when we talked about COVID, I think in one of the beginning of this season, I think one of the things I said is that I hope that like companies learn from this that part of what is driving it is that people who were able to work remotely from home are being asked to come back into the office, and they're just like, but why? I don't understand. Like I was able to be just as effective and get just as much done. Why are you asking me to come into work now? That's going to add stress to my day. Is going to affect my productivity. The other thing that I think is driving this, and I think Juan had sent a video from Simon Sinek, who is one of the is he a self-help teacher? Juan, who I don't know exactly what Simon Sinek does aside from talk.
I don't know. He just talks and I listen.
Well, but but part of it is about fulfillment, right? People are looking for more fulfillment, and I think and Jay and I talked about this off air about like. During the pandemic, you had a lot more time to kind of like do stuff you wanted to do, and I think part of what's driving the Great Resigning is that people are trying to capture that balance again. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's not just that. I think with the pandemic, a lot of people got to do a lot of self-searching and realize that what they're doing isn't what they wanted to do, and time is precious, and they want to focus on their passion. And one can argue that they've had that before, and like they said in that video I sent, people still kept their job and try to pursue their dreams while having their job. And now people are basically saying, fuck it, I'm going to pursue my dreams and quit my job and resign and focus only on what I care, which is brave and dumb at the same time.
I think for a lot of people, their biggest fear was not having a job, not having that steady income. And then that was taken away for a lot of people. A lot of people didn't have a steady income. A lot of people like myself, I didn't know where my paychecks was going to come from. I didn't know how I was going to make ends meet, and for, some people, they didn't make it. Some people, they didn't make it through this pandemic, and you see it. You see a lot more homeless people out there. You see a lot of people have lost their jobs. They lost their homes, and those people have it bad. But there are a good amount of people that they didn't have a job. They went on unemployment, and they were still able to make ends meet. And
some people made more than ends meet.
Yeah, they were making a lot more on unemployment, and they had time to not focus on commuting to work and focusing 8 hours of their day at work and then, commuting home. And they had time to focus. Well, the smart ones had time to focus on themselves, take care of themselves and pursue a passion. And then they started realizing, I don't need the job that I have, like I can do without it and pursue something that I really want to do.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because there's the focus of it. The people that are part of the largest group are people who were working in jobs with unpredictable schedules and who didn't offer benefits and who weren't paying more than minimum wage. which is a lot of businesses, and those include like, the service type places, the service and our hospitality industry, which has been hit the hardest by the deficit of team members, because that's literally the life of a team member that works in that industry. The hours are unpredictable. They're not always flexible. And, it's hard to build a social life and a life around it, in addition to whatever other family obligations you may have. I think it was an NBC or a Fox article, I can't remember, that says that, working mothers were affected the most by this because either they couldn't get childcare, or they were also trying to work while homeschooling their child.
Yeah.
Now, Jay, I know you don't have kids, but Juan, you talk about your kids and how much trouble they get you into. Did you face any troubles with trying to balance like homeschool? And you're the only one of us during the pandemic who worked the entire time.
Yeah. So here's the thing. With me, I was still working, but my wife was not. At the very beginning, she was working from home, and it was hard for her to balance work and kids at the same time, because she would have meetings, and then at that same time, our oldest daughter would have online learning, or Teddy would start destroying the house, or the baby would start crying. So she had a hard time balancing it out. Now that she doesn't have that time with the children as much as she used to, I know she misses it a lot. But she is realistic and realizes that we need the money to survive. Now with me, on the other hand, because I had work, I had a difficult time trying to work my schedule to ensure that I take advantage of the time with my wife and kids, because I knew that once everything reopened, we would go back to that new age carny schedule where we don't know how late we're going to work or how early we have to get up to work. And it kind of sucks, because we do appreciate our family time, but we're realists and we realize that we have to go to work to have a roof over our head.
So have you contemplated quitting your job and just, finding something that would give you all the things you're asking for?
Yeah, I've thought about it, but again, realist. And the thing is, I love the industry that we're working in, given the fact that how different it is. I like it. It's what I know what to do.
Do either one of you think that corporate culture has a lot to do with what is driving this? And what I mean by corporate culture is that, yeah, guys, don't worry. When we get back in the office, we'll have synergy and get it all done.
Oh,
and we'll potluck you to death and we'll pizza you to death.
It's not just corporate culture. So there's a couple things that I'm thinking is driving the Great Resignation. Thing number one is you have a lot of people that saw that the government took care of us during this pandemic time. And I don't think they realized that the government is not going to continue taking care of us for the rest of our lives. And they think that they're going to quit their jobs and it's going to be okay because somehow it's going to play out because they survived the pandemic. So we have that issue. Now, the other issue that's also driving it is the corporate culture is corporations that are willing to adapt and realize, hey, productivity didn't go down while I had people working from home. In fact, productivity went up. Or, hey, I'm saving all this money because I don't need to have office space. I just need to provide them with a computer and a schedule, and they can do work from home. So I'm saving money. Those are the people or the companies that are going to survive. The companies that are not taking into consideration that they don't have to have their team members in 5 days a week for 40 hours a week are probably not going to survive. Now, that's only for certain business models. Now, for us, they obviously need people there 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. But the difference is they need to realize that they're going to have to start paying more. I was talking to someone today, and right now it's a 50-50 market Right now, it's going to turn into an employee's market. People are going to be able to seek out jobs and say, pay me X amount of money, because it's getting to the point where people are going to want to resume regular business. And to do so fully staffed, they're going to have to pay for that talent or that team member.
I mean, that makes sense. Seems.
I'm sorry. I saw a bunch of videos on the Great Resignation, and a lot of complaints that people that are quitting their jobs is one. A lot of them felt that their job didn't provide the best communication for when people returned to work. Like people came back to work, they were scared, they didn't know what to expect, and then they were just kind of expected, just resume as normal from a year ago. And people were in shock. People were in a state of shock where it's like, a whole year has passed and we hadn't been here. And then like the corporations just expected, okay, guys, get back to work. Like nothing had happened.
Yeah. And I think that drove a lot of people to be very, very angry because, again, like I mentioned, they still had shit to balance. Like, some schools hadn't reopened and whether like you like to admit it or not, some working parents rely on the consistency of having a place for your children to go for 8 hours a day while you are at work, where they will get taken care of, they'll have a meal. And
a lot of parents rely on those 8 hours plus after school program.
Yeah.
And as people were returning from COVID, it wasn't even full school hours or no after school programs. Not until this year did we start returning to full school days. And it's still a scary environment because if your kid gets the sniffles, which they're bound to get in a fucking cesspool like schools, they're out for 10 days because they're COVID-like symptoms.
Yeah. So I think Jay's right. I think, companies kind of just expecting you to kind of like start up status quo without kind of thinking about like the stuff you've been through. And again, they will potluck and pizza you to death. So, and so Juan, you bring up
food fixes everything, bro.
Yeah.
Food fixes everything.
I
don't like my working conditions. Here's a pizza. I love you guys until I finish the slice.
But speaking of Juan, like our employers are going to have to pay now. There's a guy. He runs a business called Gravity Payments. His name is Dan Price. You guys heard of this guy?
No,
I may have actually.
This is a guy who started a business, Gravity Payments, and he raised his minimum salary for every one of his team members. Granted, his business is 120 people, right? So, but it's 120 people, but he raised their base salaries to $70,000 a year, $70,000 a year, because he felt like that if you work in the service industry, you should be paid. You should honor that. And so he wanted to make sure that his team members got what he called a living wage. And so he's not out of business. He's been doing this for the last, I want to say 5 years. 5 years, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Is this the same person that kept his team members on during the shutdown and paid them their salary despite not having customers?
Same guy.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that guy. And the team members, they appreciated it, and they'll stick around because they know that they have job security.
Yeah, and even he says, of course, this is like it's the again corporate culture, right? It's like everyone. It's not something everyone talks about. A lot of people are afraid to talk about money in the workplace, like how much are you making, or how much are you making, or they talk about it, but only amongst a small circle of folks. And I think that some companies kind of prey on that to keep people from asking, like, hey, how much money should I be making for this thing?
Oh, I like to tell people how much I make. I just embellish the amount.
Oh yeah, $40 million.
That's the other thing. I feel like right now I've heard about people talking more about their wages more freely than they did before the pandemic. And they're using it as fuel to light the fire in this resignation or Great Resignation, or to not fully resign, but start the job search for a job that's going to give them the true work-life balance and pay for it.
Yeah. So another story that it was from an NBC YouTube video that I saw. while we're kind of researching this topic, and there was a woman who worked in the service industry, and as a hostess, and her husband worked at the same place as a bartender. And the business closed, and because in that service industry, you know, if you don't work, you just don't make money. There's not a like a paycheck that's going to come. And so she went to become a longshoreman or shore woman, I guess now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And the guy that when she went to apply for the job, the guy's like, well, oh yeah, the nurses for COVID testing. He's like, no, I'm here to apply to be a longshoreman. And so she gets a job and she does it, and she makes, you know, I want to say, I can't remember the amount, but I want to say 2 times or 3 times more than she was making as a hostess. And she's able to plan her life. It came with benefits. It came with vacation, like all the things that this service industry job was not able to give her. So my question to you guys is, do you think that, much like the government did with Uber, that you think that the service industry will kind of get clamped down by the government, and they'll force them to make sure that their team members have vacation and sick time and some form of benefits that aren't necessarily driven by like what they can apply for based on their income with the government?
Well, I mean, depending on the amount of people that are going to quit in the next like year or so, the businesses are going to have to make a change if they want to keep team members, if they want to keep their quality team members happy and, you know, sticking around. That there has to be a change, but it'll only depend on the amount of people that do resign from those types of jobs.
I don't think the government's going to step in, because as it is, California's already stepped in a lot, not just for the service industry, but for every other industry. I mean, the state of California already provides or makes employers provide sick pay for team members. I don't think the government's going to step in for the service industry, because it's not just the service industry that's going to be hurting. It's everybody. It's the supply chains that are hurting as well. Like, how many places are still out of stock of certain items because factories cannot get started immediately?
Now, is that because people quit those jobs, or is that because, you know, like they don't have enough?
No, people got let go from those jobs, and now that they're trying to restart, nobody wants to go back to those jobs. So
you're saying that like this, I don't know, let's say Toy Factory Inc., who makes Buzz Lightyear toys, can't get started on making Buzz Lightyears because they can't find people to take those jobs?
Exactly.
So do you think that this company should increase the things that entice people to work for them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that if they want to restart their supply chains or restart their business, they have to pay for the employee. They have to pay for the quality of an employee. Because right now,
well, I mean, theoretically speaking, you're saying they have to pay for a quality employee, but they can't keep those quality employees because all the people they're going to bring on are going to be brand new and will need to be trained. So, you know, so what are you paying for? Are you paying just to entice people to come over? Or are you paying to, at some point, have them be a quality employee?
I think you're initially paying to entice people to come over, and once they're there, you have to do the hook, line, sinker and keep them employed and engage with the quality life and the decent pay. Because right now, it's not just about having a job to survive. It's about having meaning behind the job and a substantial pay to survive. Because right now, everybody's paying $16 an hour, but why should I go back to a $16 an hour job when I could be making $16 and working from home as a data input person or a customer service representative? I don't know if companies want to pay those types of employees more, because I mean they're all considered unskilled labor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Then if it's unskilled labor, why can't they fill it?
Because nobody wants to do it anymore. They feel like there's other jobs out there that can give them more fulfillment than the job that they have right now. That's why they're quitting.
And this is how the rise of the machine starts. Nobody wants to fill those fucking jobs, so we're going to build machines that are going to do it.
Well, do you guys think that it's generational? You think that you know, our grandfathers would have been like, yeah, I'm going back to the factory right now. Fuck that noise. Or do you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. How many fucking people after the Great Depression were eager to go back to factories?
I don't know. I wasn't born.
Yeah, that's also true.
I've seen movies. They were eager.
Titanic?
No, they all sank it.
I don't know if they were eager to go back, but I don't think that they had any other choice. You know, they don't have the options that we have now. You know, there's so many avenues where you can generate revenue. It's insane. Like you can sell anything on eBay.
That's true. That's also true. And they didn't have as much government support, I think. The reason why the systems we have in place now exist is because during things like the Great Depression and other historical things that have caused the economy to go to shit, the government needed to find a way to keep itself propped up, like the economy propped up. And so I think now we have more avenues and more support from the government than I think we've had before, which is why I asked about the government stepping in.
So my question is, what is stopping you two from joining the Great Resignation?
I mean, I think about quitting every day, but you know, I can't afford to do it right now. You know, but it's gotten me thinking. You know, I don't want to do a 9-to-5 job. You know, for the rest of my life. You know, like when I get to a certain age where I physically can't do a certain job anymore, what am I going to do? You know, like I need to have skills. I have certain skills that I don't translate to, you know, other jobs. Would you say, right now, a lot of people are figuring that out. You know, they're figuring out, hey, you know what? I had a job. I didn't work for a whole year. And then I realized I don't have a lot of skills, you know, like I've been working the same job for the last, you know, however many years. And I've done the same thing for the last, you know, however many decades. And then they go, well, I need to find another job, but I don't know how to do anything else, you know?
Yeah.
So it's scary. It's scary if you're an older person and you're trying to learn new things, you know, it's not easy.
Yeah. I think the job market kind of, it gets smaller. If you don't have a trade skill, you know, if you're not a plumber, a welder, a driver, a carpenter, right?
Yeah, those things skills that are necessary for like people,
a particular set of skills.
Yeah,
yeah. It's you know it's crazy. So I mean, one, answer your question. The reason why I don't up and quit my job right now, I mean, the largest reason is because of I don't know, money, but I mean, yeah,
the government's going to take care of you guys.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, you're talking about a government that's, I mean, they're trying to figure out how to prop themselves up now. I think we are past the 18th of October. I have no idea how we're still running. I assume they just raised the debt ceiling or they did some other emergency plan to do that. So, I mean, with that said, Juan, my point in that is that, you know, our forefathers and mothers didn't have as many avenues to travel down. Either they worked or they were homeless. You know, where with us, I mean, and we're in California, so and my point with that is that, you know, we're probably in the most like liberal of states, and they have a lot of support where they have like renters' rights and squatters' rights, and you know, and so like if you just decide to not to leave your home right now after they can't forcibly remove you, you know. So so with that said, you know, these are laws that didn't exist, you know, many years ago. So I mean, honestly, Juan, you know, I don't know, I'm going to barricade myself into this house and dare them to take me out. And then I'll sue them and make $1 billion, and then I'll be rich and never have to work again. Problem solved. There it is.
You know, if the pandemic has taught anybody anything, it's that like, would you be able to survive if this happened again? You know, if you did not work for an entire year and it would exist, would you be able to survive for another year of unemployment? You know
that I think that's a great question, and the only part of what helped me through it is that I found some made up work that only existed because of the pandemic. So you know,
COVID officer.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I mean, I think Jay has a point. Would you survive? The government said, you know, we're not going to take care of anybody. Would you survive? I don't know.
The question is, are we talking about financially or mentally?
Either. I mean, either.
I don't know if I can survive mentally.
So the traffic would be great.
Oh yeah, I do miss the COVID traffic, man.
Oh yeah, that fantastic pandemic traffic.
Yeah, I saw a video, and I'll end the podcast on this, which is saw a video Guy said, you know what I learned in the pandemic? All the traffic is caused by non-essential workers, you know, which is me now because I'm in traffic.
Is it me
So,
or do
look
you
at me.
feel that traffic is a lot worse than it was before the pandemic?
No, it's the same.
No,
Really?
yeah, I feel like it just got back to its normal.
So do you
like,
think
place.
we're not used to it? Because I could swear it feels a lot more worse than it was.
No, I feel like it's the same dipshits that drive recklessly and fuck it up for everyone who's trying to get to work.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, same deal. I feel like the pattern has just restored itself. I mean, there was a good chunk of time when I started back work where traffic was like, oh shit, I can get here in 50 minutes. Great. Not anymore.
Yeah,
Not anymore.
when I first started commuting back to work, would get there super early and I'd have time to take a nap and in my car. Now I'm right on time.
Hey, Cantley, how much longer until you start commuting on the train again?
I don't know. Driving is very, very convenient. So it's convenient for my personal life.
I have to say that I don't think it's at the level where it was before sometimes, because I remember traffic taking 2 hours to commute, sometimes 2.5 hours. That's how I justify the train. Right now, sometimes it's taking about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And in my mind, it's still livable, but it feels a lot worse than it was before the pandemic. And I don't know if it's just because I wasn't used to it anymore or because it is.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Hopefully with this podcast, we can monetize it and start getting sponsors, and hopefully we won't have to do our jobs anymore.
You hear that, Herbert?
So,
start supporting advertisers on our.
Well, we have to get advertisers first, stupid.
What?
Yeah.
Stupid.
So Herbert, Julio, Peter. With that said, Juan, I mean, you haven't said any fuck yous this episode,
have.
So I mean, yes, but none of them were in anger. I don't
That's
think.
because I'm debating whether I should resign or not.
Oh, fucking resign. It'll help us. With that said, Juan.
Fuck you guys. Now I'm pissed.
Resign from the podcast?
I just want to point out that if you decide to resign, you don't need a 2 weeks notice. You can.
Oh, no. I'll drag it out, man. I'll drag it out.
Okay, then. Well, it sounds like you're done, Juan. Are you done? Did you make it?
Yeah, I'm
through this
fucking
episode?
done.
Well, Juan, I'm glad you're done. Thanks for. Hey, we made it, guys. We're 4 seasons in. We'll be back with season 5 in roughly like 5 to 6 weeks,
dude. We're close to 50 episodes, right?
I know. This is episode number 49.
Jeez.
So
are we going to have cake for the 100th episode?
Are you going to make the cake, Juan? Are you going to bring it?
Yeah. Ligma can.
Okay. See, we made it almost a whole episode without mentioning Ligma. You do this to yourself. Dude, if we make it to 100 episodes, I'll buy a cake for everyone.
But I want it to be in the shape of 100, like a 100.
I'm going to make it in the... Yeah, you can have the one, Juan. That one's going to be shaped of a penis.
Be in the shape of a big dick.
Well, Juan, I'm glad you're done. We made it, guys. We're the season finale of our 4th season. Almost 50 episodes. Do you agree with Dave Chappelle? Do you think that he's beat cancel culture? And have you thought about quitting your job? Tell us. We want to know. Juan, take it away.
I will take it away. Hey, folks, don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment, rate us on iTunes. We are on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you. We even have the TikTok. Join us on all of the medias. And also, don't forget to email us at INCYCSHOW@gmail.com. Or you can leave us a voicemail on Anchor as well. Isn't that right, kid? Sorry.
Thank you for listening to add it to another season. See you guys in season 5.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.